Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, welcome. My name is Sophia. I don't know why I have my arms out like this. I'm just like giving you guys a big old air hug, I guess. Olivia is sleeping right now. Today is actually her 7th month birthday. So she's been taking a really long nap. I guess that's just a new thing for her since she's 7 months. So I'm not complaining. So I'm going to try to film this before she wakes up. Fingers crossed. So let's get started. I guess we can start with how I found out I was pregnant. So it was back last year, obviously. So it was the end of March last year, and I was supposed to start my period because I was on birth control, and I was starting the week, you know, in your birth control pack of 28 pills where you have the 7 sugar pills where your period's supposed to start. And normally my period's like really consistent. Like if I miss a pill that's not a sugar pill, my period will start maybe in a couple hours. That's how in tune my body was with the birth control. So when I started my sugar pills and my period didn't show up, you know, after the first day, I was a little bit suspicious. So I waited 2 days, nothing happened. So I was like, I wonder if I'm pregnant. There could be a chance. So I go to the dollar store while I'm on my lunch break at work, and I get an hour lunch break. So I go to the dollar store, I come back to work in the back, and I take a pregnancy test. It comes back negative. So I'm like, okay, this is weird. There must be something wrong with me. That's why I'm not getting my period. So I waited a whole week just hoping my period would come, and it didn't. And I was like, I should probably take another pregnancy test because maybe I tested too early. But I always thought that by the first day of your missed period, you should always have a positive pregnancy test. That's what I thought. I drove to Walmart and I got one of those, like, I don't know, like the $3 2-pack pregnancy tests. And I had just come home from work after leaving Walmart. And I went to go shower and I took the test. So I peed on the stick and then I hopped in the shower. I didn't look at it and I showered. And like while I'm in the shower, I'm like, okay, let's gather the mental strength we need to look at this pregnancy test to see if I'm pregnant. I was scared, like scared, really scared. So I take myself like a really long shower, longer than I normally do. And I pop out the shower, take a look at that bad boy, and it had 2 lines. So yeah, I knew I was pregnant. And I just like silently just thought to myself, I was like, oh, Lord have mercy, how am I gonna tell Stanley? Because he had been making jokes this whole time, like, oh, you pregnant? But he wasn't serious. Like, he wasn't like, oh, you're really pregnant, like, go test and see. He was just joking, like he thought something was just wrong with me. So anyway, I shower, come out, get all dressed, and then I go to Stanley, and he is in the living room playing his game. And I'm like, Stanley, I have something to show you, right? And he's like, you're pregnant, aren't you? I was like, yeah. And I show him the test. And he just like stares at me. And he didn't stop staring for a while. It's like he was trying to gather his thoughts on how he wanted to react. So then he grabbed a pillow. And he just like, you know, gently screamed into it. And then he's like, okay, so we're having a baby. And I was like, yeah, we are. So that's how I found out I was pregnant and how I told Stanley. The next hurdle like that hit me was, how do I tell my dad I'm pregnant? Because when I left home from Maryland to go to college in Missouri after I graduated, you know, my father told me, he's like, you know, Sophia, I work with so many people on the job and they tell me how their daughters go off to school and they come back pregnant. You know, just please try to be careful, you know. You have time in the future, just, you know, live your life, and, you know, you can always have a family later on. So I heard him in the back of my head, and my dad's always been a very supportive person, but still, I felt like I would be not letting him down, but, you know, it's not probably what he wanted for me so early. 2 days after I found out I was pregnant and I told Stanley, I was at Walmart again. I think I was getting dinner after work. Yeah, I was picking up a rotisserie chicken, I think. And so I get back into the car and I call my dad and I was like, hey Dad, you know, how's life, how's work, how you doing? Because we talk to each other almost like twice a week. And I was like, I have something to tell you. and I'm kind of scared, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say it because there's no way around this, and I'd rather tell you now than keep it a secret. And like before I could even utter the words I'm pregnant, he's like, "Are you pregnant?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I kind of cried a bit, but then he was like, "Wow, I'm gonna be a grandpa." And that just like took all the emotion away. It took all the stress, like a big weight had been lifted off of my shoulders. I was like, okay, this is gonna be okay. My father, he's supportive. I'll get through this. So now 3 people know. Well, 2 actually. Myself, Stanley, and my dad. My mom and I don't have the best relationship, so I think I waited a week after to tell her. Actually, when I told her, my grandmother and my sister found out because she had me on speakerphone. And she didn't tell me I was on speakerphone. So I called them and I was like, "Hey mom, guess what?" And she's like, "You're not pregnant, are you?" It's because, "Sophia, I had a dream." And I was like, "Wow, well your dreams must be on point because I am." And she was like kind of quiet at first, but like neither of my parents were upset. And that's like the stereotypical thing I feel like a lot of young teens go through, young adults and young teens, especially if they're not married or if they're in school or, you know, not established as they'd like to be, is like they're kind of disappointing their parents once they let them know that they're pregnant. And so like in this video, not only am I giving you my story, but I just want to encourage you and give you that backing. Let your parents know. They might not have the most pleasant reaction, but it's your parents' job to love you. So yeah, that's how I told my family. And like I said, my sister Monica found out, and she like grabbed the phone from my mom when she heard it, and she was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." After I got my positive pregnancy test and after I told my mom and my dad, I scheduled a visit at like this community health center called Jordan Valley. It's in Springfield, and I got like a certified pregnancy test, like a positive confirmation of your pregnancy. So they brought up a little dial to see like when your expected due date is based on the last day of your period. So I told them, and this is the funniest thing, they were like, "Wow, your expected due date is November 19th. Well, November 19th is Stanley's birthday, and I told him, and he was just so elated. He's like, "Oh yeah, that's my baby for sure." He was so much more excited. So I was like, man, look at that luck. Like her due date was the 19th. So after that, they scheduled me for my first ultrasound just to see how far along I was, because I told them that I was on birth control, and then they told me that that due date that they gave me wasn't accurate because I was on birth control. So I didn't like want to shatter Stanley's dreams, but like I had to tell him that that may not be her due date, and he's like, "I don't care, she's coming on my birthday, this is gonna happen." Any of you guys who know Stanley and have like talked to him in person know that he's like a really hype person. So like I could have told him her due date was like December the 20th, and he would have been like, "I don't care, she's still coming on my birthday." They did the ultrasound and they measured her, and it turned out I was like 8 weeks along, so I was about 2 months along. And so that changed her due date from November the 19th to November the 28th. So that was back in the beginning of April. And shortly after that, I went to Puerto Rico with my mom and my sister, and that was like the first time they had seen me since they knew I was pregnant. And we had a nice vacation and everything, and then I came back home and I got fired from my job of over a year. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that one, but if you guys want to see the clip on how and why that happened, I'll put it in the box, the little suggestion tip box. I'm not sure which side of the screen is going to pop up, but it's going to be on one of these sides. And you guys can watch that video and see why my job let me go and wanted me to explore other opportunities after I told them I was pregnant. So after my trip in Puerto Rico and losing my job, I was just like, I took like a month off, and I just like, you know, tried to just relax, I guess. Yeah, so that's how I found out I was pregnant. And so throughout my pregnancy, I mean, things like physically, I didn't have that much morning sickness. Yeah, like I didn't wake up every morning and I was sick. I wasn't nauseous all the time. Sometimes some foods I ate didn't agree with me, or I just felt really queasy, but it wasn't like a constant thing where I will call it morning sickness. It was just like a off and on sporadic kind of thing. And everyone's different. I was really thankful because like I like my food and I like to keep it down so I don't have to throw it up. So, you know, I wasn't upset that I didn't have morning sickness. So after a month after like my month hiatus from working, I got a job at a call center, and I didn't tell them I was pregnant initially just because I didn't want that to keep me from getting the job after what I had just went through at my previous employer, because like I said in the video, and you guys can watch it if you want, I felt like I was let go because I was pregnant. Legally, that's not okay, and legally, that's not the reason they gave me, but like in my heart of hearts, that's what I feel. So I didn't tell my new employer that I was pregnant, and I wish I had, because my supervisor was really cool about it once I did let him know, and I told him I was moving back to Maryland. And this was in June that I started my new job, and we were having like some company meeting, and this is when they found out I was pregnant. We were all standing up, and I guess I had locked my knees and I passed out. And like I remember it happening. I've never passed out before, but like everything got like really super slow and I had tunnel vision, and I just, next thing I knew, I was almost on the floor, but somebody had caught me, and I was really thankful because I would have hit my head, and I don't know what that could have done for, you know, Olivia and everything. So after that, my boss was like, do you want to take the day? You know, are you okay? Did you eat? And I told him, I was like, I don't know if I'm okay, but I'm scared because I'm pregnant. He's like, really? You're pregnant? Whoa, congratulations. So he's like, go take the day, you know, go to the hospital if you want, just to make sure your baby's okay. So I took the day, and I mean, Olivia was fine. I went to the community health center and they did an ultrasound. She was fine. I think I just passed out because I locked my knees. I should know better than that because I was in marching band, and that's like a big no-no. You don't lock your knees, otherwise you pass out. Ooh, Olivia's up. I'm gonna go get her. You wanna say hi to everybody? Can you say hi? Say, I just woke up. I'm gonna let her wake up. She's kind of cranky when she wakes up. Yes, that's how my job found out I was pregnant, and they were super supportive. My boss was like, you know, I've hired women who are ready to pop. I told him why I was apprehensive to let him know I was pregnant, and he understood, and he was really supportive. And that was at the end of June. 2 weeks after that, I had my 20-week scan just to see how everything was going and to see the gender. And that's a pretty funny story in itself. So this whole time, I've been posting pictures on Facebook, like once I finally got my teeny tiny little bump. And all of my family is commenting. They're like, it's a boy, it's a boy. And like in my heart of hearts, I knew that Olivia was Olivia and not Oliver. And Stanley was like, it's a boy. I know it's a boy. Not that he didn't care whether it was a boy or a girl, but he felt like it was a boy. So I was like, yeah, whatever. I think it's a girl. So we go for the 20-week scan, and we're in the ultrasound room, and you know how you can't like take photos or videos in the ultrasound room. And they're like taking pictures of her brain and her heart and everything, and then they go down to see what the gender is. The lady, she puts the I don't know, the ultrasound, she puts it in the position, and Stanley's like, I don't see a pee-pee. And the lady's like, you're right. And his face, it's like he automatically knew, like, oh my gosh, I'm having a little girl, not a little boy. And so I think he was a little bummed just because he was wrong, and also because like it's gonna be a little mini me running around. I'm already enough to handle, but now he's gonna have a daughter too who probably acts just like her mama. So I thought that was hilarious. He was like, oh my gosh, I don't see a pee-pee. And the ultrasound tech, she was like, yeah, you're right, you don't, because it's a girl. So we didn't have like a gender reveal party or anything like that. Like I just wanted to know, and I knew, and then I called my dad and I said, so your granddaughter? He's like, oh my god, it's a little girl. Because my father, he is so in love with my sister and I. Like, he was just so happy to have 2 little girls, and then to have a granddaughter, he was just elated. So after that, you know, pregnancy's going well, my pass out scare, a little bit of morning sickness, and then we decided We were going to move back to Maryland because we really had no ties holding us down in Missouri. We did the drive together in separate vehicles. So I drove to Maryland, 24 weeks pregnant in one day. That was a hell of a trip. I do not ever want to do it again, not even not pregnant. It was just terrible. What are you doing? Are you pooping? Back to Maryland, you know, my pregnancy was fine. I really didn't have any scares other than like I was getting very winded going up like a flight of 5 stairs, and my doctor was like, okay, you're tiny, and I was huge. You guys, my pre-pregnancy weight was like 105 pounds. Like, I was tiny. I got all the way up to 160 pounds the day before I delivered Olivia. I was huge, and I felt huge, and I was getting really winded getting up the steps, and I think I was being a little bit over dramatic because my doctor thought I had heart problems, and I had to like wear this heart monitor for a day just to make sure my heart was okay. But it just turns out I was pregnant, and I was huge, and Olivia was sucking the life out of me. So yeah, and she's huge too. She's like in the 75th percentile for her weight, so I blame it on her daddy. Her daddy's huge. But that's my pregnancy story, and that's how I told my parents. And like I said, the best thing that you can do for yourself and your stress, if you're stressed about telling your parents, if you're worried about what their reaction is going to be, I mean, there's either two things that can happen. They can be ecstatic and elated and, you know, be very supportful, or they won't be that happy. But nevertheless, don't stress yourself out wondering what's going to happen, and just let them know. Oh, and I forgot to mention this, but Stanley's family was more than ecstatic. So this is the first grandchild on my side, but Stanley's family, they already have a lot of grandchildren. Stanley has like a bunch of nephews and one niece. Her name is Mi Amor, and she's only about, I think, a year, if not that, a year older than Olivia. So having another girl in the family was just like icing on the cake. So yeah, this is our story. Well, my story rather. And the best part about it is I got hurt. She is the happiest baby you could ever ask for. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel and check out some of my other videos. I do try to post helpful content and just some cool vlogs of Olivia and I. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so her life is my life. But other than that, you know, thanks guys for watching. Have a glorious day wherever you are. Glorious day or night. And I will see you next time. Say bye. Bye guys. Can you say bye now? You guys, she's reaching for the... Oh, okay. Vlog. Tell them how your day's going.